Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malabite action.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufai.
You know what came to my mind when I saw you? You are the great Malabite Odidigbo Igbo.
That's somebody's title, please. Rufai, the man who wants to open the womb of time today. Yes, we'll start the review with this day Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Buhari hands over transition documents to Tinubu, bestowed on him GCFR, Shetima GCON, says he ran good race, finished his course as president, charges president-elect, incoming VP to lead with wisdom, courage, compassion, reiterates former Lagos governor has experience, capacity to lead country. Tinubu to Buhari, wherever you are, be it Daura or Niger Republic, expect knocks on your doors. Says he's aware of the enormous responsibility ahead of him. Yes, the transition in full gear. Yesterday, the transition documents handed over to President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course being charged about the enormity of the work ahead of him when he assumes office on Monday, May 29. Of course, you should know better. We've all been in this country. His party, the APC, has been in power for 8 years. He knows the shortcomings where the outgoing government has not done well, and they are very glaring for him to deal with. And we just hope Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, will hit the ground running. No excuse, because he's been part of the party that has been in power for the last 8 years. We expect him to know where to plug the loopholes, where to pull the plugs, and ensure that the engine of state works very well for the good of the greater number of Nigerians. Now, also reporting that story, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, I will not disappoint Nigerians. Tinubu, Buhari confessed GCFR, GCON on him. Shetima, yes. And, of course, above the masthead, what we will remember Buhari for, Nigerians speak. And they started highlighting the following: lazy youths. Yes, it was President who made that statement somewhere outside the country. Longest ASU strike in Nigerian history. Twitter ban. Naira to buy Naira. Railway, of course, there were improvements in the railway system. Some friends of mine happily travel to Ibadan these days by train with their family. Something they never thought of many years ago. And of course, border closure, one of the highlights. Border closure that brought pain without any gain. Of course, banditry, which is still raging in Zamfara, in many parts of the country. Second Niger Bridge, of course, just commissioned, and that, of course, to the credit of President Muhammadu Buhari. So, the good, the bad, and the not so ugly are also part of the Buhari legacy, according to the Nigerian Tribune, speaking to Nigerians. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, I know extent of task ahead won't fail Nigerians. Tinubu, of course, below the photograph, in the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, rate of killings worrisome. Southern Middle Belt leaders. Yes, this is also bloodstains on the path as President Muhammadu Buhari leaves office, people are still dying. In the last couple of weeks, over 130 people killed in Plateau State alone. And
Benue too.
yes, of course,
Benue too.
Benue.
On the 22nd.
Yes. So these are things Nigerians will also remember the president for. The Daily Independent newspaper, I ran a good race. I have finished my course. Buhari confers highest national honor on Tinubu. Shetima, president-elect, vows not to disappoint Nigerians. Buhari, yes. I think this has become a familiar phrase now. I ran a good race. I finished my course. Buhari, somebody who has some pastoral touch, making input into that speech. Because that, clearly, the statement made by the Apostle Paul when he finished his course, one of the erudite apostles in the Holy Scriptures. I ran a good race. I have finished my course. So yes, President Buhari can say that. And of course, the womb of history will be open in the fullness of time. Though the likes of Rufai Oseni wants to open that book right now. Now, the Business Day newspaper, debt outstrips education, health per citizen under Buhari. Yes, 8 years after he came into office, President Muhammadu Buhari is leaving Nigerians with a debt burden per head that outstrips the combined spending on education and health. Official data compiled by Business Day shows that Nigerian debt burden per citizen has grown astronomically. Yes, these are part of the Buhari legacy. The good, the bad, and the not so ugly are part of the mix. The Guardian newspaper, yes, 8 years after, vanity of rich talent. As football declines, team sports wobble without laurels. Of course, looking at sports performance in 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, only a couple of weeks ago, we saw the Golden Eaglets crashing out of that age grade tournament, the tournament that Nigeria once colonized, winning the first edition and a number of other editions along the line. Of course, records were set under the watch of President Muhammadu Buhari. Toby Amosan, of course, she set a world record. You cannot take that away. But of course, when it comes to football, the number one sport in the country, Nigerians have had a lot of heartache, headache.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And do you blame that on the president or those who decide to sack a coach who qualified Nigeria for tournaments with a couple of matches to spare and bring in a Nigerian coach and expect us to do well? Well, is the president. The buck stops at the table. He will take the plaudits. He will take the criticisms, the burden and the benefits of being in office as president of Nigeria for the past 8 years. Now, the foreign newspapers, quickly, the Guardian newspaper revealed Breverman planned to deport 3,000 asylum seekers each month. Of course, the government is preparing to kick out thousands, most of whom will be found to be refugees. And of course, Rishi Sunak has come under the fire with the rising number of immigrants, illegal immigrants in the UK. Something Breverman, in a bill which she's putting forward, seeks to deal with by deporting as many as 3,000 asylum seekers every month. Now, the Washington Post newspaper, Trump workers move boxes a day before FBI visit. 2 of Donald Trump's employees move boxes of papers a day before the early June visit by the FBI. Of course, FBI agents and prosecutors are coming to the Florida home of Donald Trump to retrieve classified documents in response to a court subpoena. Of course, the timing that investigators have come to view was suspicious. Of course, alleging that there is attempt at obstruction by Donald Trump. Trump and his aides also allegedly carried out a dress rehearsal for moving secret papers before his office received the subpoena. Yes, the Washington Post is reporting there. But the other story in the Washington Post, Biden and GOP appear closer to deal on debt. Of course, 2-year plan takes shape that will raise the ceiling to include spending limits. Of course, as always, the Republicans and the Democrats, they will always argue about this debt ceiling with the threat of government shutdown. But just on the nick of time, they always strike a deal, and something in the works already for that.
I think it's always a game of political tennis for them, ping pong across board. Definitely they were going to. But it also tested the bipartisan appeal of President Joe Biden, which has always started himself as a bipartisan champion, owing to the fact that he was one of the youngest people when he got to the House of Senate back in the days. I think it was just 29 in the 70s, and he made public story. But after he now lost his wife and everything happened. So finally, they were able to raise the debt ceiling to 31 trillion. It just shows that the debt in America keeps mounting. I remember many years ago when the bone of contention was raising the debt ceiling to 20 trillion. Now it's 21 trillion. For an economy that, when you look at the size of the economy of America, it's about 20 trillion. It speaks volumes about the American system of debt. But you see, the question is, do they have a leverage? You see, this is the difference between America and Iran. Yes, they have a leverage, because in governmental revenue, government makes, sizable amount in taxes and all of that. I think close to 5 trillion or thereabout year on year with all of that, with other forms of, revenue. So they have a revenue to hedge it. In our own case, we don't have revenue. That's the problem. That's why you see debt to service ratio is on the increase. The ratio at which we are servicing our debt, revenue to debt service ratio is on the increase. The revenue at which we are used to service our debt is over 90% because we don't take in enough revenue, and that's the problem we have here. Because I'm sure a lot of people will look at it. Look at America's debt. They are raising debt to 31 trillion, but heck yeah, they take close to 5 or 6 trillion, in tax, 5 trillion in tax remittances alone. And the economy is viable, it's working and all of that. But I want to come back to a story that I saw that scared me. And you see, these are just one of the indications of the kind of government President Muhammadu Buhari ran in the last 8 years. The interview with the education minister, I think he should never have come out to say that he knew nothing about education when he was given the appointment. Is it a joke we are running here?
But he wasn't the only one who said that.
But it is
when Aregbesola was made Minister of Internal Affairs, he said, I don't know anything about Internal Affairs Ministry.
See, but the truth has to be said. Aregbesola can say he doesn't know anything about Internal Affairs Ministry. But education is a very important and pertinent ministry. We should not have people that will do trial by error in education. And it was indicative. Look at our education prospects in the last 8 years. Riddled by ASU strikes here and there, riddled by all sorts of very, very... I now forgive Adamu because obviously he doesn't know anything about it. That's why he was saying all the things he was saying during the ASU strike. if we have a country that wants to develop, should we have people that, even if you don't know anything, can't you go and get oversight information?
I was discussing with Professor
we should not be doing this in this
country. Before she came on set about who to appoint, get a professor. He said, look, it's not just you don't just appoint any professor as Minister of Education. That person has to be somebody who has a grasp of the education, who has not just any professor or you appoint. And
she made that point yesterday.
Yeah.
Truly. But Minister Adamu has in fact done much better than other persons who have occupied that position of Minister of Education. For a fact, we can say that it was under his watch that JAMB, the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board, which used to be a center for all kinds of shenanigans, became a profit-generating, revenue contributing, revenue-generating agency under Professor Ishaq Oloyede, who works closely with Minister Adamu. And it was also under the same Minister Adamu that we have a National Universities Commission that has paid more attention to standards, quota, and all of that within the system. So if we're doing, an assessment, a holistic, fair, perhaps objective assessment of the Buhari administration, what has been done beyond the crisis with labor, with salaries, with ASU strike, you see that in terms of policies, in some other regards, you know, the Ministry of Education can point to certain things. That's not about that.
But to be fair to Adamu, he said he got experts.
No,
to work with him, to come up with policies.
Fine.
It wasn't as if he remained.
No. When you are made a minister,
yes,
you know, you are put in a policy position. It doesn't mean that you know it all. You know, the state provides the opportunity for you to recruit the best hands to do the job. However, the biggest problem that we have with regard to the appointment of ministers or persons into positions is that people are just appointed for political reasons. And that's why some persons have been arguing that when ministers are appointed and they go to the Senate for, you know, appearance and screening, the portfolio should be attached to the appointment. If you say, Mr. X, we're going to make you minister, you tell him, okay, we're going to make you minister of internal affairs. Even if he's the dumbest man on earth, at least let him go and read up and seek advice before he gets into that office. Look, some ministers get into the office, they don't know what it is all about. They have no knowledge of civics. The only relevance is that they organize some area talks to deliver votes, and then at the end of the day, they get this position. They spend 6 months.
Why don't you just say they deliver votes?
They don't know.
They don't have to organize talks to deliver votes. They may just be popular in their locality.
Okay, but you know how it works. They don't know anything about procurement processes. Most of them will get there for 6-7 months. They know nothing about procurement. When they come to council 1 year later, they will tell you their budget performance is, well, they don't know. I mean, I was trying to study the environment. That's part of the tragedy of Nigeria. We put wrong pegs in wrong holes. So that's that about
Is that really peculiar to Nigeria, Ruben?
It's peculiar to Nigeria. You look at Japan now. Look at the cabinet in Japan. Look at the cabinet in China. These are properly educated.
Let me also draw your attention.
Not somebody just jumping with no education.
The first Secretary of State,
positions.
the first Secretary of State under Donald Trump. Where was he brought from? He was the head of Mobile. And he was brought to become...
You are comparing apples and oranges.
No.
You are comparing...
No, we know how that Secretary of State ended. When he was sacked while on the official trip to Africa. Ruben.
No, Feni.
It's not peculiar to Nigeria.
No, Rex Tillerson had international exposure.
This is what...
Head of President of Mobile?
And you suddenly foreign affairs, in charge of foreign affairs. Does that make you...
You don't know that a multinational company...
A multinational company?
You know how it ended. With and eventually he was sacked while he was on a trip in Africa.
A multinational corporation is an important part of international relations and international diplomacy.
No, Rex, what it is.
However, I wanted to talk about Braverman.
Yes.
Yeah, you refer to the...
Suella Braverman.
Yes, she used to be Attorney General. She's now Home Secretary. You refer to the illegal migration bill that is going through Parliament at the moment. And she's already saying, 3,000 asylum seekers will be pushed out every month. And that has been a major issue. And there are MPs, members of parliament, who are accusing the conservatives, the Tories, of incompetence, complete incompetence in terms of how they have handled immigration. But the truth of the matter is that even when they quote the figures, that in 2022, we had an increase up to 606,000, and that the prospect is that will hit 700,000 this year. And the Nigerians, your brothers, the Japa people of Nigeria, you know, that they account for about close to 68,000 in 1 year alone, bringing dependence into the United Kingdom. They fail to overlook the fact that there is a labor shortage crisis, not just in the UK, but also across Europe. And the UK, where people don't want to do certain works, they don't want to be haulage lorry drivers, they don't want to be butchers, they don't want to be, they don't want to do certain kinds of job. They prefer to live on the door. Okay? So earlier on, we discussed this matter with Mr. Wilson. He was saying, yes, immigration is chaotic. It's a crisis and all that. Okay, but if people don't want to do basic jobs, they want to live on...
Well, some ministers are saying they will teach them how to drive.
They want to live on benefits.
They will teach them how to drive lorries.
Nigerian nurses want to go to the UK. They want to work.
They need them.
Nigerian butchers, if they are given a chance, they want to come to the UK. We have been talking about students. In fact, motopark touts in Lagos, if you give them visa, they will relocate to the UK. And that's why there is another report saying, that's a report by Phyllis Consulting, indicating that the rate of the percentage point of Nigerians who are leaving the country is about 52%. And these are persons in the professions, in tech.
Oh, professionals.
In tech, yes. In medical. So Nigeria faces a crisis. If we were to go by that report by Phyllis Consulting, which I think was presented yesterday. So you find a situation whereby Nigeria is now at a point that Ireland find itself at the turn of the 19th century. So when you talk about Irish Americans and all of that, many of them left because the condition at the turn of the 19th century in Ireland was not conducive enough. Yes. So they all went.
There was hardship.
They all went to America. So today now everybody is coming home. I'm a descendant of Irish Americans and all of that. That is what is going to happen to Nigeria. Most of our talented people, they will leave because we have not provided an enabling environment.
Ruben,
and one of the challenges...
You are not leaving, Ruben.
No, I'm not going anywhere. We are here together. If I get a chance tomorrow, I will run this country. I can't do it. I mean, you know.
We are here.
Breaking news. Dr. Ruben Apati indicates interest for presidency in year
Ruben, we are here.
I can run this country.
Yes, yes, we can run it. Yes.
So we're going nowhere. We're going nowhere.
We can run this country.
This is a challenge.
Dr.
So
Apati.
there are some of us who will stay here.
Yes, and run this country.
But the challenge is that there are more people who are leaving. 52%. That's about half of the talent pool of Nigeria. Talent pool of Nigeria.
It's alarming. It's alarming.
Please, Mr. Fini.
No, we hope the next government,
Mr.
May 29, will set things
right. Can I even ask you a question?
Yes.
Those that are even running, do they have half of Dr. Abati's cerebral acuity as we speak today? Challenge me on that.
No.
Fact check me. Those that are running it, do they have half of Dr. Abati?
No, Dr. Abati. I don't want to compete with my fathers.
Dr. Abati.
When it is my time.
What primary school did you go to?
You are still talking about when it's your time.
Dr. Abati, what primary school did you go to?
No.
At least I know your primary school. I know your secondary school.
No, I did NYSC.
You did NYSC. And I know your university. I know all your degrees.
Stop the wawules. Stop the wawules. We want to go eat jollof rice.
Somebody I know is primary school. I was like, I would rather support him.
Ruben, it's okay, Rufai. Everybody, you have the right to edit your biography to suit your purpose. I don't think that's a crime.
Okay.
Okay. But you don't have the right to tell lies. But you people should stop this, please. We are waiting for Monday. And Nigeria must move on. We'll focus on the issues of development of the economy and how all of us can work together. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Efene.